Did you know scientists believe that the risk of bird flu sparking a human pandemic is rising? It's true. The virus known as bird flu is adapting to new hosts, including cows and other mammals. This raises the possibility that it could spark a human pandemic. Well, that causes one to pause, doesn't it? But it gets worse. The companies behind the poultry business aren't rushing to do anything about it. Well, this sent my nerdy brain into overdrive. Perhaps it did the same to yours. Let's get some burning questions answered. Starting with the basics. What is bird flu? Bird flu, or avian influenza, is a viral infection that primarily affects birds but can also infect humans and other animals. How does bird flu spread? It spreads through direct contact with infected birds, contaminated surfaces, and airborne droplets in crowded poultry farms. Why are chickens super spreaders? There are several reasons. The first is that their immune systems are weak. Unlike wild birds, domestic chickens have been bred for size and rapid growth, not survival. Did you know that their immune systems are so fragile that a single virus can wipe out an entire flock in days? The second reason is that chickens live in extreme conditions. Imagine being crammed into a warehouse with 100,000 people, breathing the same air, standing in your own waste. If one person gets sick, everyone gets sick. That's what a modern poultry farm is like. And the third reason is that they reproduce incredibly fast. A new batch of chickens is raised every 6 weeks, giving flu viruses endless opportunities to mutate. What are the most dangerous strains of bird flu for humans? H5N1 and H7N9. Can bird flu spread through the air? Yes. Bird flu viruses can become airborne in dust or respiratory droplets. What's more, they can survive up to several weeks in cold, moist environments like bird droppings or water. Can pets catch bird flu? Yes, they can. Cats and dogs have been infected in rare cases, usually from eating raw, infected birds. Does bird flu affect different bird species differently? Yes. Ducks and geese often carry the virus without symptoms, while chickens and turkeys get severely ill and die quickly. Can you cook out bird flu from contaminated poultry and eggs? You can, as long as poultry and eggs are cooked to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or 74 degrees Celsius. However, you don't want to handle raw meat or eggs from infected birds without following proper hygiene. How many known cases are there of humans contracting the bird flu? Since 1997, there have been more than 900 human cases of H5N1, with an approximately 50% fatality rate. However, and wait for it, a new report suggests that more Americans may be walking around with bird flu and not even know it. 150 veterinarians were recently tested for bird flu antibodies, which would indicate if they had a recent infection. 3 veterinarians specializing in cattle tested positive, yet they said they never experienced flu-like symptoms. Why is this important? Because asymptomatic disease played a role in how COVID-19 spread in 2020. People who were sick with no symptoms mingled with others in public, unknowingly transmitting the virus. What does this mean for the bird flu? It means the more the virus spreads undetected, the more opportunities it has to mutate into something more dangerous to humans. And this has public officials concerned that the bird flu is following the same path that other viruses have taken to end up spreading to humans. Well, if that's the case, I wondered if humans build immunity to bird flu. Since humans are not frequently exposed, we have little to no natural immunity. Sadly, this makes it potentially more dangerous if a future pandemic strain emerges. Thinking about the future made me curious about bird flu's past. I wondered, when was bird flu first discovered? I was surprised to discover that it was first identified in 1878 in Italy, but it was not confirmed as an influenza virus until the 20th century. What was the deadliest bird flu outbreak? The 1997 H5N1 outbreak in Hong Kong led to the first known human deaths and resulted in a mass culling of 1.5 million birds. How has bird flu evolved over time? Over the past 100 years, avian influenza viruses have undergone genetic shifts and mutations. It is these shifts in strains like H5N1 that are now thought to be a pandemic risk. But here's something even scarier, and it's happening right now. Do you know which animal can accelerate bird flu's evolution, potentially making it a major concern for future flu pandemics? The answer is pigs. Pigs are the ultimate flu incubators and can be infected with both bird flu and human flu at the same time. When that happens, the two viruses can swap genetic material, creating a brand new strain that humans have no immunity against. Well, on that happy news, I wondered if pigs contributed to past pandemics. The answer is yes. The 2009 H5N1 pandemic was caused by a pig-origin virus that mutated into a highly transmissible human strain. This begged the question, have H5N1 infections, the ones that are deadly to humans, been detected in pigs? And the answer is unfortunately yes. Cases have been found in China, Cambodia, and Canada. This raises concerns about potential human-adapted strains emerging and evolving into a human pandemic. By now, if you're like me, you're wondering what's being done about all this. Well, to understand that, you must understand that the bird business is big business. True or false? Bird flu outbreaks hurt the poultry industry. The answer is false. While small-scale farmers suffer, large corporations profit. Sounds crazy, right? But let's break it down. When a bird flu outbreak hits, millions of chickens are killed and entire flocks are wiped out in a matter of days. This should be bad news for the poultry industry. But here's the twist. The government, at least in the United States, steps in to compensate large producers for their losses. For example, the USDA's indemnity program pays big poultry farms for every bird they're forced to destroy due to disease outbreaks. That means companies don't lose money when their birds get sick. They get paid. Now, guess who doesn't get the same bailout? Small independent farmers. They're often left scrambling, losing entire livelihoods overnight while corporations get reimbursed and keep production rolling. But wait, it gets worse. When bird flu wipes out millions of chickens, the supply of eggs and poultry shrinks and prices soar. But do you know by how much? For example, in the United States, egg prices are estimated to increase about 20% in 2025. As a frame of reference, prices in general are expected to escalate only 2.2%. Of course, that's assuming you can find eggs in stock. I personally can't. If you're like me, you're thinking, why don't they just prevent these outbreaks in the first place? The answer goes back to the bird business being big business. Better farm conditions, genetic diversity in poultry breeds, and reduced overcrowding all require a complete overhaul of the industry, and that's expensive. Now, what about vaccines? The answer isn't straightforward. While there are vaccines, first, they don't protect against future mutations. And second, it's not in the best interest of big business. You see, many countries won't allow the export of birds who are vaccinated. That, of course, means fewer buyers, which means lower profits. So what happens next? We seem to be in a situation in which there's a virus that's mutating. The poultry industry makes more money from outbreaks than it does prevention. And while the government, at least in the US, is stockpiling vaccines, it is not yet deploying them. True or false? The world is prepared for an H5N1 pandemic. The answer likely depends on whether you see the glass as half empty or full. While the risk of a human epidemic at the current time seems low, viruses are mutation masters. As I noted earlier, a strain that has now made people sick has been found in cows. Are humans just one mutation away from becoming infected? Are we indeed headed for a clucking disaster? Fellow nerds, if you made it this far, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Let your inquisitive minds be heard. What do you think needs to happen for this to be taken seriously? Logging off, but the nerdy synapses never rest, nerdy and proud.